SADC is a regional economic community. It is an organization which is a collection of member states that are in Southern Africa, 16 member states in total, and it is focused on regional integration, economic development, and the promotion of good governance and democratic governance across the region. And it does so through collectively through these member states who engage with each other, particularly the heads of government and the heads of states of different states. And they make policies, determine certain regulatory frameworks for the region on various issues, and the issues that I've already mentioned, whether it involves economic development, governance in particular as well. And the role of the SADC in the democracy space or democracy infrastructure is to provide a normative framework for the region. It does so through the treaty and other protocols that it has adopted. Yeah. So the SADC has a number of platforms or arenas through which civil society can engage with it. The first one is the Southern African Council of NGOs, which is more a civil society initiative that was started in 1998, but it has an MOU with the SADC Secretariat, so it's recognized as a collective of civil society that engages the SADC, particularly on matters of political governance in the region. There's also the SADC Civil Society Forum, which is a civil society gathering that takes place along the sidelines of the SADC Heads of State and Government summits that take place periodically, and this is an opportunity for civil society to come and deliberate on issues and try to influence the policy agenda of the summits. And then there is the SADC national chapters that are based in the member states. These are made up of member state representatives as well as representatives of non-state actors that can come, and so civil society can come together and with the private sector and business and other actors in society to attempt to find some kind of consensus on issues as well as to influence the agenda. So that's generally how civil society can engage officially with the SADC processes. But other ways through which civil society can do so is by engaging with particular departments within the Secretariat and demonstrate that they have expertise that can support some of the focus areas of the Secretariat, and then through that channel they can develop relationships and have MOUs with the Secretariat, and thus participate in SADC processes like that. Look, digital technologies do provide interesting opportunities for how civil society can organize itself, how it can put together its messaging for its advocacy, and perhaps extend access to civil society organizations or actors that wouldn't necessarily have the capacity to travel to SADC meetings physically, etc. So it's a great advocacy tool that can be used to enhance traditional advocacy methods. However, in the context of the SADC, where there isn't much appetite for engaging on matters of democracy and human rights at the level of heads of states, and that's where the decisions are made, until and unless the culture of the SADC itself, in terms of how it responsive it is and accepting it is of putting such issues on its agenda. The addition of digital technologies might not have the biggest impact in terms of allowing civil society to have greater influence. I think it would depend on, to a large extent, on whether or not the culture and acceptance of the governance agenda that civil society is trying to bring forward is more acceptable at that level of decision making. But should the SADC want to increase and create more platforms and become more enabling for civil society to engage in its processes, I think adopting digital technologies would, as I said, increase the access and the ability of civil society to be able to at least interface without a lot of the logistical challenges. And it would be easier for the SADC as well to communicate its own goals, its principles, its activities, its agendas, which would increase the accountability and transparency to civil society. But there are many other things that need to be dealt with, like, for instance, adopting a formal mechanism for civil society engagement and not lumping together different non-state actors, like being more willing to engage with civil society, non-state actors, for instance, that are not in the private sector, that are working on human rights issues, that are working on accountability and transparency related matters, for instance. Well, I think the first thing is to actually gain more knowledge and understanding of how the SADC works and plug into the available platforms, the ones that I've already outlined and spoken about, and not wait for reforms necessarily, not wait for the adoption of the mechanism, for instance. Try to build relationships with those officials within the SADC Secretariat and even in the other, existing avenues like the SADC Parliamentary Forum, for instance, which is actually willing to engage with civil society, even though it's not like a statutory body of the SADC. It has no powers, etc., no decision-making powers per se, but they can lend, sort of a voice to civil society's agenda and priorities. Engaging more perhaps with the ministerial committees and councils as well, and also engaging with member states, with their member state chapters, and trying and looking for ways to innovate and see how they can take their agenda beyond, their country level into the SADC as well. So I think sometimes we've got to work with what we've got and not what we wish we had. And so working within existing frameworks, and also just highlighting to the decision makers that they have committed themselves, to providing opportunities and platforms for consultation, for participation. It's there in the treaty, it's there in the different and various protocols, and they have to account for that. So I think those are a lot the opportunities that exist for civil society.